The settlement of Keithara burned beneath a sky choked with smoke and ash. Lieutenant Aaron Vale pressed her back against the crumbling wall of what had once been a schoolhouse, her rifle hot in her hands, her breath coming in controlled bursts despite the chaos erupting around her. The Havricks had come without warning, as they always did. Their ships had descended like metal vultures, disgorging wave after wave of their shock troops into the colony. The Cathari, peaceful reptilian beings who had never known war before humanity, found them were being slaughtered. Aaron's squad had been 3 kilometers away when the distress beacon screamed across all channels. By the time they arrived, the main settlement was already overrun. Her orders were clear. Extract any survivors, fall back to the evacuation point, and get off-world before the Havricks' orbital bombardment turned the entire region into glass. Simple. Clean. Impossible. Through the smoke, Aaron heard it, a sound that cut through the weapon fire and screaming like a knife through silk. A child's cry. High-pitched, terrified, and close. Vale, we need to move. Sergeant Chen's voice crackled in her helmet. Evac leaves in 7 minutes. Copy that, Aaron replied, but her feet were already moving toward the sound. She found him in the rubble of a collapsed dwelling. Kor, she would learn his name later, couldn't have been more than 4 cycles old. His scales were a soft amber color, not yet hardened by maturity. Blood seeped from a gash across his small shoulder, staining the dust beneath him crimson. His enormous eyes, designed to see in the perpetual twilight of Kethara's long days, were wide with terror. Above him, a section of ceiling groaned, ready to complete its collapse. Aaron didn't think. Thinking was for tacticians and politicians. She lunged forward, her armored body sliding across the debris, and wrapped herself around the cub just as the ceiling came down. The impact against her backplate sent shockwaves through her spine, but her armor held. It always held. That's what humanity brought to the galaxy. Armor that held when everything else failed. Lieutenant. Chen's voice was sharp with concern. Your vitals just spiked. Status. I'm good, Aaron grunted, pushing upward with her legs, feeling the weight of concrete and steel resist before giving way. I've got a civilian. Juvenile. Kor whimpered against her chest plate, his small claws scratching uselessly at the hardened polymer. His blood was soaking into the underlayer of her suit. Negative, Vale. You cannot carry additional weight and make the extraction window. Leave him. That's an order. Aaron looked down at Kor. His eyes met hers, those impossibly large eyes that held more fear than any child of any species should ever have to carry. She thought of her own niece, barely older than this cub. She thought of the recruiting poster that had convinced her to join the Terran Defense Corps. Humanity's strength is not in our weapons, but in what we choose to protect. Respectfully, Sergeant, Aaron said, adjusting Kor against her chest and sealing him there with her tactical webbing. Go to hell. She ran. The human body, evolutionary biologists had discovered, was an anomaly in the galactic community. Humans were persistence hunters. Their ancestors had literally chased prey until it collapsed from exhaustion. Their cardiovascular systems, their muscle composition, their stubborn refusal to acknowledge when they were beaten, it made them unique. Aaron Vale embodied all of it. She ran through streets turned into killing zones, her rifle in one hand, her other arm cradling Kor against her torso. Havrick's pulse fire scorched the air around her. She felt one bolt graze her shoulder guard, the heat searing through. Another shattered the ground at her feet. She didn't stop. Kor's breathing was shallow against her chest. His blood, she could feel it now, warm and wet, was seeping through her undersuit. The cub was dying. Stay with me, she whispered, though she knew he couldn't understand Terran standard. Just stay with me, little one. The evac point appeared through the smoke, a cleared plaza where the dropship sat, its engines already cycling up. She could see Chen at the ramp, his rifle raised, laying down covering fire. 3 other soldiers were there, hauling Cathari civilians aboard. Vale, move, Chen's voice boomed even without the comm. 200 meters. Aaron's lungs burned. The armor that had protected her now felt like it weighed 1,000 kilos. Her legs screamed. Every impact of her boots against the ground sent jolts of agony up her spine from where the ceiling had struck her. 100 meters. A Havrick's interceptor screamed overhead, its weapon systems locking onto the dropship. 50 meters. Aaron saw Chen's expression change, saw him recognize what she'd known the moment she picked up Kor. She wasn't going to make it. Not at this weight. Not at this distance, but humans, the galaxy had learned, didn't calculate odds the way other species did. 20 meters. The interceptor fired. Chen and another soldier threw themselves flat, dragging Cathari civilians down with them. The plasma bolt struck the ground between Aaron and the ship, erupting in a fountain of molten earth. Aaron didn't stop. She jumped. Her armor's assisted servos, designed for combat leaps, launched her through the superheated air. She felt her leg armor crack from the thermal stress, felt the heat sear through to skin. She twisted in midair, taking the impact on her back as she crashed onto the dropship's ramp. Core still clutched against her chest. "Go!" she roared. The ramp was closing before she finished the word. The dropship lurched skyward. Through the closing gap, Aaron saw the plaza erupt in fire as the Havrick's bombardment began. Chen was beside her, working frantically to release Core from her webbing. The cub was unconscious now, his breathing barely perceptible. "Medical now," Chen shouted. Hands pulled Core away. Human hands, gentle despite their strength. A medic's hands that had trained for years to save lives of species they'd never met until humanity ventured into the stars. Aaron lay on the deck, her armor smoking, her body screaming. She watched the medic work on Core with practiced efficiency, sealing the wound, administering broad-spectrum antibiotics, checking vital signs. "He's stable," the medic finally announced. "He'll make it." Only then did Aaron allow herself to close her eyes. Later, when Core woke in the medical bay of the human carrier, he would learn that Lieutenant Aaron Vale had carried him 1.3 kilometers through active combat. He would learn that she'd taken injuries that would have killed most species. He would learn that she'd disobeyed direct orders to leave him behind. And he would understand what the rest of the galaxy was beginning to learn. Humans were not the strongest species. They were not the fastest or the smartest, but they were the only ones who would run into fire to carry out those who bled. The cubs bled in battle. The human bore them home, that was enough.